Hi, this is Sierra from Flow, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about maps. So where we are right now is we're just working with the global life expectancy data set that's in our library, and I've just built out a swarm with various connections and colors and filters. So on the x-axis we have year, on the y-axis we have life expectancy, and on the z-axis we have country. And as you can tell, country is really hard to read, and even if you could read those labels, it's still kind of a lot to see where each country is and map that in your mind. So why don't we go ahead and add a map. So what I'm gonna do is add a step first, and then I'm gonna turn off the visibility just so it's a little bit easier to see. And so I'm just doing that by double clicking on the boxes here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and create a map. And so there's a lot of settings in regards to map. I'll go over some of them briefly here. So you can choose between the world view, the US, and some other random ones that we have in here right now. We will be getting user custom map implementation within the next month or so. So hopefully by September you should be able to upload your own maps. But right now this is what we have. So for the projection, you can also choose if you want it to be a sphere or a flat equirectangular or Mercator projection map. I'm going to keep it on sphere for now. There's various size, color settings here. Choropleth is also an option where you can choose your data source and have the minimum set of a column here. Why don't I just show you? I'm just going to use the global life expectancy data set. That's what I've been using before. Choose my region column as the country. No, I think this isn't going to work because there's many values for each of these columns. So for each country, there's multiple values for year. So it doesn't, or population, for example. So the population changed over time, so we have each of those in the data set. So going from, color minimum to color maximum is how you set the choropleth, but it only works if you have one unique value for each of the region columns for whatever column you're choosing here. So that's why it looks kind of goofy and weird. So I'm going to go ahead and actually just delete that map. Delete buttons up here. And then I'm going to create a new one. And I just do that because we're having a couple bugs right now with turning the choropleth source back to none and having it revert to being a blank map. So we are still in beta, there are still some bugs, but yeah, I think this map's good. I'm gonna zoom in maybe a little bit and set the camera. And then I'm gonna go back to the swarm and turn it back on. And it's still the scatter plot in the background, so let's change that and change it to map to regions using map 1 and using the region column country. And so now we have all the little dots on the map. It looks cool, except for it's kind of boring. So there's some different things we can do there. Offset is essentially how you can see there's a little space between the dot and the map here. So I usually just set that to 0, so that way the dots are on the map, but you can see they kind of get obscured because of the rendering. So what I'm going to do is actually click the stack toggle, and then it stacks all of the records you have for each country on this line that's protruding from the earth. So it looks kind of cool, not particularly meaningful, but can definitely be useful in some scenarios. And then you can choose how high up do you want them to be. 0.01, they're like way far apart, so that's what that setting does. You can have them, maybe let me do a 0.05. I think that's what it was at before. But yeah, you can change that setting. Something I like to use sometimes is grid, and this will take all of the dots of the CSV from the CSV of the value country and group them on as a grid on the country. So what you can do is change the grid spacing. So right now they're really packed together. If we go ahead and increase that, you'll start to see these squares get bigger and bigger and bigger. And over here in Europe, where the countries are really small, they're starting to stack up vertically because there's not enough land area for them to show with more spacing. So I think maybe some spacing like that looks pretty cool. It's interesting, Dominican Republic here has so many sticking up. But yeah, I think that looks kind of cool. You can also do something called offset column. So let me turn stack off so we go back to this view. Actually, I'll go ahead and turn stack on and then make a new step and show you what that looks like if I turn stack off, and then I can create an offset column. So this creates little lollipop charts. Essentially, you might have seen those in some of our demos before. So you can click, we can show, what could we show with height? We could show population, we could show life expectancy. Again, I'm not sure if this will work super well because we have so many values for each country, but let's go ahead and try it anyways. I don't know. I think it might be a little bit confused. What we can, I think it's just because each, well, this is actually quite interesting because you can see the countries that have had a lot of growth have these longer lines, like in Africa, which means that their life expectancy has grown because each dot is a year. So that's kind of interesting, whereas if you go over to the US, like our dots, yeah, it's kind of high up, but it's been like that for a while. So that's kind of an interesting view. What I might do now is increase the size of the dots and change the color scheme to something. I guess I'm just doing a whole data story demo here. I was supposed to be showing you about maps, but let me keep the color how it is for now, and then add a little connections to access our map. And so I'll link the connections video down below as well, but just wanted to show you this to access our map. And so then now life expectancy is kind of similar across the globe, so you probably won't be able to see the difference in height for all of these, but that can be useful when you have really different values for these different countries around the globe. So I'm going to delete that step because it's a little bit messy, but that gives you a bit of an idea on, oh no. Okay, so when something like this happens, what I can do is go into advanced, and then it'll show the perspective. So what likely happened is just the perspective got a little bit misfired. So let me go ahead and see. Perspective 2. I think that's where we were at, but we had stacked them and done a grid, I believe. So yeah, that's where we were. Okay, and I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger again. All right, so now we got a map. That's pretty cool. There's this thing here too called random seed in case you want to have the map on 2 steps, but you don't want the dots to move around. If they have a specific color scheme or something, you can add a random seed to both steps and have it be the same number, and a random seed should pop up there, but and then the dot should stay in the same place. If they're randomly assembled on a grid, they can be, you want to make sure that that random is the same for each step. So I think that's all I have to say about maps. Obviously they can be positioned, rotated, scaled. Something else is this animate between steps. So if you want to have a map, the same map with a different position on a different step. So let me show you what that looks like. Let's move this map a little bit closer. And so when you go from here to here, the map actually moved. Whereas if this was off and I moved the map way over there, it's gonna also move it on this step. So we don't have an undo button, so sometimes I get a little bit lost with my objects, but you can always revert them back to 0 by just hitting these little minus buttons right here. So I'm going to keep that animate between steps button on, and I'm actually going to delete this step and get ready for the next video. So thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it.